100 years ago, there was a book that turned the Joseon kingdom upside down. The book 서유견문, called Observations on Travels in the West, was written by Yu Gil-jun, the first man from Joseon to study abroad in the US. What about today, 100 years after Yu wrote his book? Over the past century, Korea has embraced Western civilization and experienced rapid industrialization. Today, Korea is more relevant in the world than it ever was in the past. This is our attempt to create our own version of observations on travels in the West. It's one of the most alluring destinations in the world, Tanzania. But like many other African nations, Tanzania is plagued by poverty. Heavily dependent on agriculture, various anti-poverty programs have failed to eradicate the problem. Slowly but surely, signs of a turnaround are emerging. Among them, Pangawi village in Morogoro district. Here, July is the busiest time of the year, earmarked for corn harvest. A bumper harvest is expected. With output up by tenfold this year in some areas of this collective farmland. Collective farming is a novel experience for villagers in Pangawi who are known for their individuality. Even during seed planting, many of them hesitated. The villagers gather in time to divvy up the harvest based on individuals' input. Reaping the benefits of cooperation and hard work, everyone is happy.
Mimi familia yangu tuko watu watatu. Kilo 50 hizi tunakula miezi miwili.
Behind the collective effort is a team of agricultural experts from South Korea and the Tanzanian government.
How to grow the high-yield maize? After you, also, I'm sure. 지난번에 여기 국무총리도 오셔가지고 상당히 격려를 해주셨고 또 새마을하고 연계적으로 해서 시너지 효과가 나오는지 몰라도 상당히 열성적으로 한국의 그 새로운 기술을 받아들이려고 이렇게 하고 있는 걸로 그게 이제 눈에 보이는 것 같아요.
Transformed from an ordinary remote village, seeds of change are planted here at the Pangawi Village Hall. Today, young men of the community will learn about the spirit of the Saemaul Movement. This is a Korean song everyone here is familiar with. The Saemaul, or New Village Movement, is South Korea's approach to rural modernization. Launched in 1970, its successes include the nation's own economic boom, build the miracle on the Han River.
Korea can proudly take its place as one of the great success stories in history of economic development. And Saemaeul Undong was part of that. The rural side, where very impoverished villages took on their own modernization, upgrading, business development, local infrastructure. And so this is a part of Korea's history, and it's something that Korea can share with the world.
After the sing-along, the lesson begins. Instructor Amanzi shares stories of economic success from around the globe. With each story, he stresses the spirit of the Saemaul Movement.
Nimejifunza na nini maana Saemaul. Saemaul ni kufungua dunia Tanzania mpya kwa moyo wa kujituma, kujitegemea na kushirikiana.
There's a reason and a very big reason, because we need to change, to change mindset of our people of Pangawe in order to build our village from the old village to the new village.
The lesson is over, but instead of going home, the young men, accompanied by their Saemaul leader from Seoul, head to a senbei mill.
청년의 회원들이 20, 30대에 주로 소득 활동을 해야 될 나이대의 사람들인데 마을 내에 마땅한 일자리가 없고 소득 활동이 없다 보니 거의 놀고 있는 경우가 많았어요. 그래서 저희가 이제 소득 활동 지원을 할 수 있는 방안을 생각해서 이제 센베 가게를 짓고 계속적으로 새마을 교육을 통해서 이제 인식을 변화시키고.
At this mill, corn is ground to produce a local staple called ugali. A grinder is filled with dried corn and water. Then it's turned on. Everyone looks on. That is until the grinder comes to a halt. Each and everyone tries to help solve the problem. Apparently, just a year ago, these men would have been more lax. To check the inside, they open the grinder. After putting their heads together for about 30 minutes, they restart the grinder. Success at last. The farming season may be over, but there's still work to do.
Na ugali haukamiliki kuwa ugali bila kuwa na mashine ya kusaga. Kwa hiyo tumechagua hii kwa ajili ya watu wetu kuwa maskini wa mashine. Kwa hiyo hii itatusaidia Pangawe nzima watu kwa ajili ya kuja kusaga hapa na kuweza kwenda kupata chakula nyumbani. Kwa hiyo tumeona kwamba tuchague mashine ili tuweze kupunguza ile gharama ya kutoka hapa kwenda Mkambalani, Kingoloila au Jeshini au Misongeni. Sasa tunasaga hapa Pangawe. Kwa hiyo hii ni nafasi kubwa ya kujivunia sana. Nashukuru sana kwa kupata hii msaada.
From finely ground ugali, everyone profits. Among those taking home the first batch of ugali are Amanzi and Ali. These men are at the forefront of reforming their village. They're actually father and son. Amanzi was trained in South Korea to lead the Saemaul Movement. Ali hopes to follow in his father's footsteps. And to fulfill this dream, Amanzi helps his son learn Korean.
Kuheshimu pia na lugha na utamaduni mataifa mbalimbali ili baadaye niwe katika maisha yangu mazuri.
The Saemaul Movement is also changing the lives of local women. At the Women's Association, they're learning to make clothes, from designing to decorating. For these ladies, financial perk is another motivation. In Pangawe village, women outnumber men. Outranked socially, many have had to forego schooling and jobs. But these days, the Saemaul spirit is curbing the trend and boosting local women's self-esteem.
Nimetengeneza mwenyewe, nimekata hapa pamoja na mwalimu, amenisaidia, amenielekeza, nimeshona mpaka nimemaliza. Familia yangu imefurahi sana na wamenitia moyo kuwa niendelee kujitahidi, nijue zaidi na zaidi.
Newly made clothes are also sold at the Women's Association. Offerings range from uniforms to special occasion dresses.
Mimi binafsi au kama wao wenyewe binafsi walikuwa wanasema kuwa swala la kujiunga pamoja kama watu 10. Kwa hiyo watakuwa wanashona nguo mbalimbali, lakini zile nguo wataenda kuomba oda kwenye shule mbalimbali. Wakishapatiwa zile oda, wanazitengeneza zile nguo, wakishamaliza wanaenda kuzipeleka shule.
As the sun sets on the village, children start to gather. They exchange pleasantries with Saemaul leaders in Korean. Soon after, local volunteers appear with equipment. Shadowing them are the children carrying chairs. Children's chatter and excitement fill the air. Electricity is a luxury in this village, so once a month, a makeshift theatre is set up by the Saemaul Movement. But today, there's a slight hold-up.
저희가 창고에 케이블선을 보관해 놨는데 쥐가 케이블선을 파먹었어요.
For the children, the show must go on. So everyone tries to help out in sorting out the cables. With valuable help from the locals, the showcase is able to start. The children are mesmerized.
저희가 와서 이제 함께 우리가 노력하고 도와가면서 일을 하면 더 잘할 수 있다라는 이제 그런 이야기들을 많이 했을 때 어느 순간에 우리가 어떤 보상을 해주지 않더라도 와서 함께 도와주고 그리고 또 기쁜 마음으로 솔선수범하는 모습을 보여줄 때 그럴 때 가장 보람을 많이 느끼고 마음이 기쁜 것 같아요.
On this night, another circle of life is drawn. Pangawi is endowed with fertile land. Given this, farming experts say the village output could increase multifold. To test the theory, an experiment is underway at this collective farm. Tomatoes are ripe for harvest.
The taste is sweet, more sugar. No pint, we call it a pint, no pint. It is sweet and very good in putting on it, and vegetables and meat and what. Very good.
To grow tasty tomatoes, the villagers do not rely on nature. They tend to them with fertilizers and water. And thanks to hard work, this marks the 7th harvest of the year. The tomatoes from this farm are apparently popular at local markets. Agricultural specialist Dr. Kim Yong-gwan is behind the collective effort at this farm. He often stresses the importance of water, because water control can help boost overall output. In addition to the tomatoes, Dr. Kim trains the villagers about cultivating other crops.
궁극적인 목표는 단기성 재배, 한 4개월 만에 수확을 맛볼 수 있는, 그리고 결국은 여기 이제 현금화할 수 있는 거, 이익을 창출할 수 있는 그걸 재배해가지고 판매함으로 해가지고 이 사람들이 동기부여가 되고 상당히 효과적으로 뭐 현금을 직접 만져보면은 의욕이 더 고취되지 않겠느냐.
As more long-term plans, Dr. Kim suggests planting fruit trees in the area to the farmers. Realizing the benefits of cultivating land, these days more and more locals are helping out. The villagers' will, complemented by the Saemaul Movement and its leaders' passion. winds of change are blowing across Pangawi. Pursued by 42 countries so far and supported by some 700 officials, along with an even bigger contingent of volunteers, South Korea's Saemaul Movement is hailed as one of the most efficient rural development models in the world.
There's a tremendous feeling in Korea of wanting to contribute to solving problems. So everything is here to make a big contribution. And the inspiration of Korea's own success can play a big part of encouraging the Korean people to say, yes, we will go help. We know a lot, which is true. Let's go help others to achieve similar success.
Renowned for its Javanese remains, Indonesia's Yogyakarta is a tourist hotspot. Its city centre, frequented by globetrotters, is well developed and prosperous. But on the outskirts, the situation is different. Nestled in the mountains is a remote village called Banjaroya. Here too, Saemaul volunteers from South Korea, namely university students and medics, are at work. Local university students from the city centre are also on site, happy to help with the worthy cause.
Banyak tahu soal Saemaul terus juga mereka juga baik-baik.
What these villagers need the most is medical relief. This secluded village lacks even the most basic health care. So from those suffering chronic pain to those needing inoculation, everyone turns up for this rare opportunity. Caring for those vulnerable can be tiring, but not for these volunteers.
네, 힘든 것보다 좀 이게 마음이 아프네요. 예, 많이 아프신 분들도 많아가지고 좀 마음이 많이 아파요.
Nearby at a kindergarten, children are busy shaking bags of white powder and water. The mix is then molded into shape.
여기서는 위생 관리가 제대로 돼 있지 않아서 비누를 만들어가지고 여기 유치원에 놔두고 애들이 손 씻고 깨끗하게 할 수 있도록 도와주고 있습니다.
Education about preventative measures is just as important as treatment. To teach the local children, a fun approach is taken.
Semoga bisa berkelanjutan. Dari negara kami ada tindak lanjutnya, dari negara Korea juga ada tindak lanjutnya, bisa saling berkunjung, bisa saling bertukar ilmu.
Unlike Saemaul leaders who reside on location and explicitly teach the spirit of rural development, Saemaul volunteers implicitly teach through their altruistic actions.
우리나라가 이 70년대, 60년대 그 새마을 운동이란 걸 거치면서 경제적으로 많이 발전을 하고 많이 진보를 했기 때문에 이분들도 지금은 많이 열악하지만 그런 걸 조금이라도 좀 배우고 해서 여기도 이 나라도 우리처럼 이렇게 좀 잘 살게 되고 그랬으면 하는 바람으로 하고 있습니다.
As their trip nears its end, the young Saemaul volunteers from South Korea gather and reflect upon their activities, ranging from paving a road to providing medical care.
저희가 지금 단기간 2주 동안밖에 없었지만 우리가 가고 나서도 주민들 스스로 이제 스스로를 개발해야겠다 이런 생각을 저희가 심어주고 가는 것 같아서 좀 뿌듯한 느낌이 듭니다.
It's the last day of volunteer work. A new 500-meter-long road now runs through this remote village. After a week of working alongside the volunteers, the villagers take charge of making the necessary final touches.
Dulunya sulit untuk digunakan sebagai jalur mobil karena becek, tanah langsung nggak bisa dilewati mobil dan waktu itu sempit, hanya bisa satu jalur kendaraan roda 2, sekarang sudah bisa roda 4.
What was once unpassable now has turned into a smooth road. It's a priceless gift for the locals. Looking for last-minute work,
우리가 해야 될 도로 공사가 다 어느 정도 마무리돼가지고 마지막으로 이제 주변에 있는 마을들을 좀 이렇게 깨끗하게 해주는 것도 좋지 않느냐. 그것도 새마을운동의 하나의 일환이니까 그런 식으로 저희가 나름대로 이렇게 프로그램을 짜가지고 이렇게 준비를 했습니다.
lacking in cement, this road had to be filled with stones. It's a novel experience for some, to be remembered by everyone.
한 매에서도 즐겁게 있고 한 매에서도 웃을 수도 있고 땀도 같이 흘리고 밥도 같이 먹고 뭐 또 대화는 되지는 않지만 몸짓 발짓을 보면은 아, 저 사람들 우리에게 고맙다는 느낌도 우리도 받을 수 있으니까 그거 자체라도 새마을이 아닌가 싶어요.
As for the local reaction,
selesai bagus, kerjasama dengan masyarakat bagus. Kami ya dari sini mengucapkan thank you.
함께 할 수 있어서 너무 좋았고요. 혹시 또 이장님 저 보고 싶을까 봐 또 걱정이 되는데.
Oh ya, terima kasih. Kemarin kita merasakan keakraban bersama dari Korea. Kalau nanti saya kangen, ya siap dijemput. Iya. Kami yang bisa ambil dari Saemaul Movement yaitu tentang kekompakan. Jadi kekompakannya dan semangat kerjanya. Mungkin itu yang ingin kami tingkatkan nanti dengan gotong royong, karena mungkin kelemahan di gotong royong tentang semangat kerjanya.
For a better tomorrow for all global villagers, South Korea shows its support through the Saemaul Movement, now in its second phase of creating miracles worldwide.